Blood pooled beneath the furnace, black in the basement's dim light. Zuri froze on the bottom step, laundry basket clutched to her chest. The metallic smell hit her before her brain could process what she was seeing. A man. Slumped against the concrete wall. Suit torn. Face half shadow. Breathing shallow. And a gun, loose in his hand, pointing nowhere. "Don't," he rasped in accented English before she could scream. His eyes opened, dark, unfocused, struggling. "Don't call anyone." Zuri's heart hammered. She should run. Should call 911. Should do literally anything except stand here staring at a bleeding stranger in her landlord's basement. But something in his voice, desperation mixed with command, made her hesitate. "You're dying," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I know." He coughed, blood speckling his lips. "That's why you can't call the police." 3 hours earlier. Zuri Washington had exactly $47 in her checking account, a master's degree in social work she couldn't afford to use, and a basement apartment in Queens that smelled like mildew and broken dreams. She'd moved to New York 6 months ago from Atlanta, chasing a job opportunity that evaporated the week she arrived. Now she worked 3 jobs, barista mornings, tutoring afternoons, and overnight data entry that made her eyes bleed. The basement apartment was all she could afford. $600 a month, no questions asked, cash only. Her landlord Mr. Kim was Korean, elderly, barely spoke English, and never came around. Perfect for someone trying to stay invisible while rebuilding her life. She'd been heading down to do laundry when she heard it. A thud. Heavy. Like a body hitting concrete. Then silence. Zuri had learned in Atlanta that silence after violence meant one of 2 things, someone left, or someone couldn't. She should have gone back upstairs. The choice. "I'm a nursing student," she lied, kneeling beside him despite every survival instinct screaming at her to run. "Let me see." It wasn't a complete lie. She'd done 2 years of nursing school before her mother got sick, before student loans buried her, before everything fell apart. She remembered enough to know he was in trouble. The man, Korean, maybe early 30s, devastatingly handsome even half dead, watched her with eyes that missed nothing. "Why would you help me?" "Because you're bleeding in my basement." She pressed her hands to the wound in his side. He hissed. "And because if you die here, I'll never get my security deposit back." His laugh was barely a breath. Practical. Surviving. She grabbed the cleanest towel from her laundry basket. "Who shot you?" "People who want me dead." "That's not specific." "It's all you need to know." His hand caught her wrist. Strong despite the blood loss. "If you help me, you're involved. You understand? No going back." Zuri looked at him. Really looked. Expensive suit, even torn. Custom shoes. A watch that probab. LY cost more than her entire life. Tattoos peeking from his collar, not random ink, but deliberate art. And those eyes. Cold. Calculating. Dangerous. This man was trouble. But he was also dying. "I'm already involved," she said quietly. "You're bleeding on my floor." Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe. Respect. "Jong-jae," he said. "Kang Jong-jae." "Zuri." She pressed harder on the wound. "And you're going to live through this, Jong-jae, because I don't do failure." His smile was sharp, pained, and somehow amused. "Then we're going to be a problem, Zuri. Because neither do I." Emergency medicine. She worked fast. Stripped his shirt, more tattoos, elaborate dragons and tigers across his ribs. The bullet had gone through, which was good. But he'd lost a lot of blood, which wasn't. "I need supplies," she said. There's a 24-hour pharmacy 3 blocks away. Don't die while I'm gone. Demanding, he murmured, but his eyes were already closing. Hey. She snapped her fingers. Stay awake. Tell me something. Anything. Like what? Why you're bleeding in my basement at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. His laugh was bitter. Business disagreement. Must have been some disagreement. They want what I have. I'd rather die than give it to them. His eyes opened, locked on hers. Which might happen, so hurry. Zuri ran. The pharmacy clerk didn't question why she needed gauze, antiseptic, butterfly bandages, and surgical tape at 2:30 in the morning. New York had taught her that nobody asked questions they didn't want answered. When she got back, Jong-jae was unconscious but still breathing. She worked by the basement's single flickering light. Cleaned the wound. Packed it with gauze. Wrapped his torso so tight he'd barely be able to breathe, but at least he wouldn't bleed out. Her hands shook the entire time. When she finished, she sat back against the washing machine, staring at this stranger she'd just saved. What the hell did I just do? She whispered to the empty basement. Jong-jae's eyes opened. Saved my life. His voice was rough but clearer. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. She stood, gathering the bloody towels. We need to get you upstairs before someone finds you here. Upstairs where? My apartment. She saw his hesitation. Unless you'd prefer to stay in the basement where anyone could find you. He tried to sit up, failed, his face going gray. I can't put you in danger. Too late. Zuri grabbed his arm, pulling it over her shoulder. Now shut up and lean on me before I change my mind. Getting him up the stairs was hell. He was tall, muscular, and every step made him bite back sounds of pain that told her just how badly he was hurt. Her apartment was small. 1 room, kitchenette, bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. But it was hers, and it was safe. She lowered him onto her bed, the only bed. He collapsed onto the sheets, breathing hard. I'll take the couch, she said, already grabbing blankets. Zuri. His hand caught hers. Why are you doing this? She looked at him. This dangerous, bleeding stranger who'd stumbled into her life. Because 6 months ago, I was homeless for 3 weeks. Sleeping in my car. Nobody helped me. Nobody even looked at me. Her voice hardened. So yeah, I'm helping you. Because I remember what it feels like when nobody does. Something in his expression cracked. Vulnerable for just a second. I'll repay this debt. Just don't die in my bed. She pulled her hand free. I can't afford new sheets. His laugh followed her to the couch. Yes, ma'am. Morning after. Zuri woke to silence. Panic shot through her. Had he died? Had he left? Had someone found them? She bolted upright. Jong-jae sat at her tiny kitchen table, somehow upright despite the bullet hole in his side, scrolling through his phone with his good arm. You should be in bed, she said. I should be dead. He looked up. Thanks to you, I'm not. In daylight, he was even more striking. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that missed nothing, hair falling across his forehead. The tattoos visible above the bandages she'd wrapped around his torso were intricate, expensive work. Who are you? She asked quietly. Really? Someone who shouldn't have involved you. He set down his phone. I'm leaving. Today. You'll never see me again, and you'll be safe. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give you. Zuri crossed her arms. Someone shot you. Someone wants you dead. And I just spent all night making sure you didn't die on my sheets. I think I've earned a real answer. Jong-jae studied her for a long moment. I run a business in Manhattan. Import, export, investments. Some people don't like how I do business. So they shot you. Yes. What kind of business? His smile was sharp. The kind where questions get you killed. I'm already involved, remember? She moved to the kitchenette, started making coffee. You said it yourself. No going back. I was bleeding out. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking clearly enough to tell me not to call the police. She poured 2 cups. Which means you're running from something. Or someone. And they're not the kind of people who involve cops. Zhang took the coffee she offered. You're smart. I'm surviving. She sat across from him. So tell me the truth, or I'm calling 911 right now and letting them sort it out. His eyes went cold. Dangerous. You wouldn't. Try me. They stared at each other across the table. 2 strangers playing chicken with information that could get her killed. Then Zhang laughed. Actually laughed, wincing at the pain it caused. You're insane. You're bleeding in my kitchen. Insane is relative. Fine. He set down his coffee. I'm Kong Zhang. I run territory in Manhattan for a Korean organization that handles import, export, and protection services. 3 days ago, a rival family decided they wanted my territory. Last night, they decided to take it by force. Zuri's blood went cold. You're Mafia, Yakuza, Triad, pick your term. He watched her carefully. I'm a criminal, Zuri. And you just saved my life. She should be terrified. Should throw him out. Should run as far as possible. Instead, she took a sip of coffee and said, you must be really good at your job if they need to shoot you to stop you. His surprise was genuine. That's your response? I grew up in Atlanta. I know how this works. She met his eyes. So here's the deal. You stay until you're healed enough to leave safely. Then you go, and we pretend this never happened. Just like that? Just like that. She stood. I have to go to work. There's food in the fridge, don't answer the door, and for God's sake, don't bleed on anything else. Zuri. He caught her wrist as she passed. Why are you helping me? Really? She looked down at him. Because you asked me not to call anyone. Which means you have nobody else to call. And I know what that feels like. The vulnerability in his eyes was there and gone in a flash. Thank you. Thank me by not dying while I'm slinging coffee. She pulled free. Building trust, 2 weeks later. Zhang was a terrible patient. He pushed himself too hard, refused to rest, and kept making phone calls in rapid Korean that always ended with him looking more tense. But the gunshot wound was healing. Slowly. The first week, he could barely sit up without his face going gray. By week 2, he was moving around the apartment carefully, testing his limits. You're going to tear your stitches, Zuri said one morning, finding him attempting modified exercises. I need to stay strong. He stopped, breathing carefully. They're looking for me. They won't find you here. You don't know that. He met her eyes. I should leave. Soon. You're not ready. I don't have a choice, Zuri. Every day I stay puts you in danger. She moved closer. Let me decide what risks I take. His eyes searched hers. Why do you care? Because. She hesitated. Because you're a person. And I'm not good at letting people suffer. Even criminals. Even criminals. She helped him sit on the couch. Besides, you're the most interesting thing that's happened to me since I moved to New York. His laugh was genuine. That's depressing. Welcome to my life. She sat beside him. Tell me about Korea. Why? Because I'm tired of silence. And you owe me stories. So he told her. About Seoul, about his family, about how he'd come to New York 10 years ago with nothing and built an empire through intelligence and ruthlessness. She told him about Atlanta, about her mother's death, about the nursing degree she'd abandoned, about feeling lost in a city that didn't care if she lived or died. They were both running from something. Both alone. Maybe that's why it felt so easy. The first threat. 3 weeks after that first night, someone knocked on the door. Zuri froze. Jong Jae was already moving, gun in hand, positioning himself behind the door frame. "Who is it?" she called. "Building management. Routine inspection." Her landlord never did inspections. Jong Jae shook his head sharply. "Don't open it." "I'm not dressed," she called back. "Can you come back tomorrow?" Silence. Then footsteps retreating. They waited 30 minutes before breathing. "They found me," Jong Jae said quietly. "I have to go. Tonight." "Where will you go?" "Safe house in Jersey." He was already gathering his things. "I'm sorry, Zuri. I brought this to your door. You didn't bring anything. You were dying." She grabbed his arm. "But if you leave now, still healing and weak, they'll kill you. Better me than you." How noble. She rolled her eyes. "Here's a better idea. You stay. We make them think you left." "How?" She thought fast. "We make noise. Stage an argument. I throw you out loud enough for the whole building to hear. You sneak out the back, circle around, come back through the basement. They think you're gone, and you get more time to heal." Jong Jae stared at her. "You've done this before. I've survived before." She met his eyes. "There's a difference." They staged the fight that evening. Zuri screaming about strange men and danger, Jong Jae yelling back in Korean, doors slamming, the whole performance. Then silence. Her neighbors would talk. Word would spread. The man was gone. Jong Jae slipped back through the basement 3 hours later. "It worked," he said, setting down bags of takeout. "I circled the block. They're watching the front, but they think I left." "So you bought Chinese food to celebrate?" "I bought Chinese food because you saved my life and you've been feeding me cereal for 3 weeks." He started unpacking containers. "It's the least I can do." They ate on her floor, backs against the couch, containers spread between them. "You're good at this," Jong Jae said after a while. "At eating Chinese food? At surviving? At thinking fast? At not panicking?" He looked at her. "You'd make a good operator." "Operator?" "Someone who works for me. Intelligence, logistics, problem solving." He took a bite of noodles. "You have the mind for it. I have a master's degree in social work. And you're working 3 jobs to survive in a basement apartment." His voice was gentle but direct. "I'm not judging. I'm saying you're wasted here. This is my life. It doesn't have to be." Zuri set down her food. "What are you offering?" "A job. Real money. Protection. A way out of this." He gestured at the cramped apartment. "You help me, I help you. Partnership. I'm not a criminal. You're harboring one. What's the difference?" She wanted to argue. Couldn't. "This is insane. You keep saying that." He smiled. "But you haven't said no." The turning point. She thought about it for 2 days. Watched him make calls, coordinate movements, manage what remained of his organization from her tiny apartment. He was brilliant. Strategic. Ruthless when needed, but never cruel. And he treated her like an equal. Asked her opinion. Listened when she spoke. Respected her space. Okay, she said on the 28th night. Zhang Jie looked up from his laptop. Okay, what? I'll work for you. Temporarily. She held up a finger. 3 months. You get me out of this apartment, pay off my student loans, and give me enough money to start over somewhere else. And in return, I help you rebuild. Logistics, intelligence, whatever you need. She met his eyes. But I have rules. No drugs. No human trafficking. No hurting people who don't deserve it. Deal. He stood, offering his hand. Welcome to the organization, Zuri, Washington. She shook it. His grip was firm, warm. I'm probably going to regret this. Probably. His smile was wicked. But you'll be alive to regret it, which is more than most people in my world can say. That night, Zhang Jie moved her to a safe apartment in Manhattan. 2 bedrooms, actual security, a view that didn't include a brick wall. It's too much, she protested. It's necessary. He set down her bags. You work for me now, you're a target. You need protection. Where will you stay? Here. He nodded to the 2nd bedroom. Until I can secure something else. Living together. Working together. This was happening fast. But Zuri had learned in the past 6 months that sometimes survival meant jumping off cliffs and hoping you landed somewhere soft. Ground rules, she said. You stay out of my room. I stay out of yours. We split chores. And we talk. About everything. No secrets. Agreed. He extended his hand again. Partners? Partners. She shook it. Neither of them mentioned how long his hand held hers. Or the electricity that sparked where their skin touched. Some things were better left unspoken. For now. Working together, 2 months later. Zuri was good at her job. Better than good. She had a mind for logistics, an eye for patterns, and a natural ability to read people that made her invaluable. Within weeks, she'd reorganized Zhang Jie's supply chains, identified 3 moles in his organization, and negotiated a truce with a smaller crew that had been causing problems. You're wasted in social work, Zhang Jie said one night, reviewing her latest report. This is what you were meant to do. Managing criminal enterprises? She raised an eyebrow. That's not exactly what my degree prepared me for. Leadership. Strategy. Protecting people. He looked at her. That's what you do. The legality is just context. She couldn't argue. She was good at this. And for the first time in years, she felt useful. Needed. Valued. But she was also falling for her boss. It happened slowly. Shared dinners turned into long conversations. Strategy sessions turned into debates about philosophy. Casual touches lingered longer than necessary. Zhang Jie was brilliant, dangerous, and underneath the cold exterior, surprisingly kind. He remembered how she took her coffee. Bought her books she mentioned wanting. Asked about her mother without pushing when she wasn't ready to talk. And the way he looked at her sometimes, like she was the most fascinating thing he'd ever seen, made her heart forget how to beat properly. We can't, she said one night when the tension got too thick. They were reviewing territory maps, standing too close, his hand on her lower back. Can't what? His voice was rough. This. She stepped back. Whatever this is. And what is this, Zuri? Dangerous. She met his eyes. You're my boss. I work for you. This is unprofessional and stupid, Anne. He kissed her. Slow, deep, like he'd been thinking about it for weeks. His hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. She gasped against his mouth, and he took advantage, deepening the kiss until her knees went weak. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against hers. "Still think it's stupid," he murmured. "Stupider now." But her hands were fisted in his shirt. "Because now I know what I'm missing." "Then don't miss it." His lips brushed hers again. "I want you, Zuri. Have since the basement. Since you demanded I tell you the truth. Since you saw what I am and didn't run. Jong-jae. No rules. No boss and employee. Just us." His eyes were intense. "Tell me you don't feel this." She couldn't. Because she did feel it. Had been feeling it for weeks. The way her heart jumped when he entered a room. The way she found excuses to stay up late working just to be near him. The way she'd started thinking of the apartment as home instead of a temporary stop. "This is a bad idea," she whispered. "Probably." He kissed her again. "Do it anyway." So she did. The intimacy. That night changed everything. Jong-jae made love to her slowly, worshipping every curve, asking permission with every touch. His hands traced her brown skin like she was art, like she was precious, like she was everything he'd never known he needed. "You're beautiful," he whispered against her collarbone. "So damn beautiful." "You're biased," she gasped as his mouth found sensitive spots. "I'm honest." His eyes met hers, dark and intense. "I've never felt this. Never wanted anyone the way I want you." Afterward, tangled in his sheets, Zuri traced the dragon tattoo on his ribs. "What does this mean?" "Protection." His voice was rough with exhaustion. "I protect what's mine. Always." "And what's yours?" she asked, already knowing the answer. His hand covered hers on his chest. "You. From the moment you knelt in that basement and chose to save me instead of run. You've been mine." "That's possessive." "I'm possessive." He pulled her closer. "But I'm also yours. Completely. If you'll have me." She kissed him softly. "I'll have you." The betrayal. They kept it quiet for 6 weeks. Professional in public, intimate in private. It worked. Until Lee Jin-ho returned to New York. Jin-ho was Jong-jae's former second-in-command. The one who'd set up the ambush that nearly killed him. The one everyone thought had died in the aftermath. "He's back," Jong-jae said, his face carved from stone as he read the intelligence report. "And he's making moves." "What kind of moves?" "The kind that end with me dead and him running my territory." He looked at her. "He knows about you." Zuri's blood went cold. "How?" "Someone talked. Someone close." His jaw clenched. "I'm moving you. Tonight. Somewhere safe until." "No. Zuri. No." She stood her ground. "I'm not running. We're partners, remember? We handle this together. This isn't a logistics problem." Jin-ho doesn't negotiate. He destroys. Then we destroy him first. She moved to the laptop, already thinking. He's been gone for 2 months. His networks are damaged. His allies are scattered. He's vulnerable. He's also desperate. Which makes him dangerous. So are we. She met Jong-jae's eyes. "Trust me. We can do this." He looked at her for a long moment. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." "Then we do this together." He pulled her close. "But if things go wrong, if he gets close to you, you run. You hear me?" "I hear you." She kissed him. "But I won't need to." They spent 3 days preparing. Fortifying their position. Reaching out to allies. Building a trap. On the fourth day, Jin-ho made his move. The attack. The attack came at dawn. 6 men. Professional. Armed. But Zuri and Jong-jae were ready. They'd evacuated everyone else from the building. Set up barriers. Prepared exit routes. When Jin-ho's men breached the door, they walked into a kill box. Jong-jae fought like violence incarnate. Every shot precise. Every movement calculated. Zuri had never shot anyone before. Had never even held a gun until Jong-jae taught her. But when one of Jin-ho's men cornered her in the hallway, gun raised, finger on the trigger, she didn't hesitate. Her shot was center mass. Clean. Final. The man dropped. She stood there, shaking, staring at what she'd done. Zuri. Jong-jae was there, hands on her face. Look at me. Look at me. She met his eyes. I killed him. You survived. His voice was firm. He was going to kill you, and you survived. That's all that matters. I'm not a killer. No. You're a survivor. He kissed her forehead. And you're alive. That's what counts. The fight ended quickly. 4 of Jin-ho's men dead. 2 fled. Jin-ho himself was found 3 blocks away by police. Official cause of death, gang violence. Multiple gunshot wounds. Jong-jae's connections made sure the investigation went nowhere. But Zuri couldn't forget the weight of the gun in her hand. The look in that man's eyes when she pulled the trigger. The breaking point. I can't do this anymore, she said that night. They were back at the apartment. Safe. Alive. But something had broken inside her. Can't do what? Jong-jae asked quietly. This. The violence. The danger. I thought I could handle it, but, her voice cracked. I killed someone today, Jong-jae. Someone who was trying to kill you. I know. I know it was self-defense. But I can't, she wrapped her arms around herself. This isn't who I am. Then who are you? Someone who helps people. Who heals them. Not someone who, she couldn't finish. Jong-jae crossed to her, but she stepped back. Don't. Her voice broke. Please don't make this harder. Zuri. I need to leave. Tonight. You set me up with new identity papers weeks ago. I need to use them. His face went carefully blank. Where will you go? I don't know. Somewhere far from here. Somewhere I can start over. She finally looked at him. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. His voice was rough. You're doing what you need to survive. I understand. Do you? I'm the reason you had to kill someone today. He stepped back. So yes, I understand. Jong-jae, this isn't your fault. I'll have everything ready in an hour. New identity. Money. Transport. His jaw clenched. You'll be safe, Zuri. That's all that matters. She wanted to argue. To tell him she didn't regret knowing him, helping him, loving. But she couldn't say that word. Not now. Not when she was leaving. An hour later, she stood at the door with a bag of clothes and a new identity, Maya Johnson. Thank you, she said. For everything. Stay safe. He didn't touch her. Didn't try to stop her. If you ever need anything. I know. She hesitated. What will you do? Rebuild. Again. His smile was bitter. It's what I'm good at. She wanted to kiss him goodbye. Wanted to tell him she loved him. Wanted to stay. But she'd killed someone today. And she couldn't unsee that. Couldn't unfeel the weight of it. So she left. And Jong Jae let her go. 6 months later. Boston was supposed to be her fresh start. Zuri, now Maya Johnson, hospital administrator, had rebuilt her life carefully. New apartment. New job. New routine that didn't involve guns or blood or danger. She was safe. Stable. Surviving. She was also miserable. She missed Jong Jae. Missed the work. Missed feeling alive instead of just existing. Every day felt like holding her breath underwater. Safe, but suffocating. But she'd made her choice. And she was living with it. Until her apartment door crashed open at 2 a.m. 3 men. Armed. Professional. Maya Johnson? The lead one smiled, but his eyes were cold. Dead. Or should I say Zuri Washington? Her blood froze. Who are you? Friends of Lee Jin-ho. His smile widened. Took us 6 months, but we finally tracked you down. Facial recognition software is amazing these days. One photo from a traffic camera, and here we are. Terror shot through her. They'd found her through technology. Her new identity meant nothing against digital surveillance. And you killed our friend, he continued, stepping closer. So now we're here to return the favor. She ran. Through the apartment, onto the fire escape, down 3 floors before they caught her. Kang Jong-jae took everything from us, the leader said, knife pressed to her throat. So we're taking everything from him. Starting with his woman. I don't, she couldn't breathe with the blade against her skin. You killed Jin-ho. You worked for Kang. You were his lover. The knife pressed harder. That makes you his everything. And now you're ours. The warehouse. They dragged her to a car. Drove her to a warehouse. Chained her to a chair. We already sent the message, the leader said, showing her his phone. A photo of her, chained and bleeding, with coordinates. Kang knows we have you. He'll come. And when he does, we'll kill you both. Zuri's mind raced. She had no weapons. No backup. No way out. But she had her brain. He won't come, she said. What? I left him 6 months ago. We're not together. He probably forgot I existed. She met the leader's eyes, forcing her voice steady. So you're wasting your time. Liar. Check his recent activity. His contacts. His movements. She kept her voice calm. You won't find any connection to me. Because there isn't one. I walked away. Disappeared. We're done. Doubt flickered across his face. But, she hesitated, selling it. There is someone he cares about now. Someone who actually matters to him. Who? She gave them a name. A location. A woman who didn't exist. If you want to hurt Kang Jong-jae, she said, go after her. She's the one he's been seen with. She's the one he protects now. I'm just, old news. They bought it. The leader nodded to his men. 2 of you go check it out. The rest stay here. If she's lying, we kill her slowly. The moment 2 of them left, Zuri started working on the chains. The knot was complex, but she'd spent months learning every tactical skill Jong-jae could teach her. Including escape techniques. She'd practiced them obsessively after leaving, telling herself it was just to stay sharp. But really, it was because they reminded her of him. Of feeling capable. Of not being helpless. 20 minutes later, one chain was loose. She found a phone in the office. Her hands shook as she dialed the only number she had memorized. Hello? Jong-jae's voice sent electricity through her. That voice. God, she'd missed that voice. It's me. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They found me, Anne. Where are you? All business. All lethal focus. The switch was instant. Zuri, where are you? She gave him the address. But Zhongjae, they're coming back. There are 5 of them total, and I'm 10 minutes away. His voice was steel. Hide. Survive. I'm coming. Zhongjae. I'm coming for you, Zuri. Always. The line went dead. She hid in the warehouse rafters, using the structural beams to stay out of sight. Watched as Jinho's men returned, furious that her information was false. Find her, the leader screamed. Now. Then the lights went out. The rescue. Gunfire erupted. Screams. The sound of bodies hitting concrete. When the emergency lights flickered on, Zhongjae stood in the center of the warehouse. 4 bodies around him. Gun steady. Face splattered with blood that wasn't his. He looked like death. Like vengeance. Like everything dangerous and beautiful she'd been trying to escape. Zuri. His voice echoed through the space. Up here. She climbed down, hands shaking. He was on her in seconds, checking for injuries with frantic hands. Are you hurt? Did they? I'm fine. She grabbed his face. I'm fine. The last of Jinho's men stumbled from the shadows, gun raised, aiming at Zhongjae's back. Zuri moved without thinking. She grabbed Zhongjae's backup gun from his holster and fired. The man dropped. Silence. Zhongjae stared at her. You came back. I never wanted to leave. Her voice broke. I was scared. I thought I couldn't handle the violence, the danger. But being safe and miserable is worse than being dangerous and alive. Zuri. I love you. The words tumbled out desperate, raw, honest. I've loved you since the basement. Since you trusted me with the truth. Since you made me feel like I mattered. And I ran because I was terrified that loving you would destroy me. But being without you? That's destroying me worse. He kissed her. Hard. Desperate. Alive. When they broke apart, his forehead pressed to hers. I love you. I've loved you since you demanded answers instead of running. Since you saw what I am and chose to stay anyway. Since you saved my life and changed everything. I killed someone again today. Her hands shook. To save me. He caught her hands. You're not a killer, Zuri. You're a survivor. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. He kissed her again. And I'll spend every day proving it to you. Sirens wailed in the distance. We need to go, he said. Where? Anywhere you want. He pulled her close. As long as it's together. Together, she agreed. Always together. 3 months later. Zuri stood in the penthouse office overlooking Manhattan, reviewing supply chains on her tablet. She'd reorganized the entire operation, cutting waste, improving efficiency, building something that was almost legitimate. Almost. You're brilliant, Zhongjae said from the doorway. You're biased. She didn't look up. I'm honest. He crossed to her, arms wrapping around her waist. How's the expansion going? Good. We're 3 weeks ahead of schedule. She leaned back against him. And I found another mole. Park Ji-won. He's been selling information to the Zhang family. Handled? He's being reassigned. To logistics in Alaska. Her smile was sharp. Where the only thing he can sell is fish. Zhongjae laughed. Ruthless. I learned from the best. They'd found their rhythm. Work during the day, each other at night. Building something real from the ashes of violence and desperation. She no longer flinched when she held a gun. She'd accepted that part of herself, the survivor who would do whatever it took to protect what mattered. And what mattered was him. "I have something for you," Jong Jae said, pulling a folder from his desk. Zuri opened it. Legal documents. Property deeds. Bank statements. "What is this?" "Your student loans. Paid in full." He watched her face. "And the deed to a building in Atlanta. Renovated. Ready to open." Her throat tightened. "Jong Jae. You wanted to help people. To use your degree." He turned her to face him. "So do it. Open your practice. I'll fund it. No strings attached. That's $500,000. That's an investment in the woman I love." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "You gave up nursing school for your mother. You gave up social work to survive. Now you don't have to give up anything." Tears blurred her vision. "I can't accept this." "Why not?" "Because it's too much. Because I don't deserve." "Stop." His voice was firm. "You saved my life. You rebuilt my organization. You chose to come back even when you were safe and free." His hands cupped her face. "You deserve everything, Zuri. Let me give you this." She kissed him. Soft. Grateful. "Forever." "Thank you," she whispered against his lips. "Always." The proposal. 2 weeks later, Jong Jae took her to a private rooftop restaurant overlooking the Hudson River. Manhattan glittered like diamonds against the night sky. "This is beautiful," Zuri said, taking in the candlelit setup, the private chef, the sheer romance of it all. "Not as beautiful as you." He pulled out her chair, ever the gentleman despite the violence in his veins. They ate. Talked. Laughed. The conversation flowing easy like it always did between them. When dessert arrived, chocolate soufflé, her favorite, there was something on top of it. A ring. Black diamond set in platinum. Stunning. Unique. Perfect. Zuri's breath caught. Jong Jae stood, moving to kneel beside her chair. "Zuri Washington. You walked into my life when I was bleeding and dying in a basement. You could have called the police. Could have walked away. Could have let me die." His voice was rough with emotion. "But you didn't. You saved me. Not just my life, my soul. You saw what I was and didn't run. You challenged me. Made me better. Made me want to be better." He took her hand. "I'm still a criminal. Still dangerous. Still someone who operates in shadows. That's not going to change. But with you? I'm also someone who loves. Who trusts. Who believes in something beyond survival. You chose to come back even when you were free. You chose me even knowing the cost. Now I'm choosing you. Forever. Completely. Absolutely." His eyes were intense. Vulnerable. Real. "Marry me, Zuri. Build this life with me. Be my partner in everything. Let me spend the rest of my life proving you made the right choice in that basement." Zuri was crying. Full tears streaming down her face. "This is insane. You always say that." His smile was tender. "But you've never said no." "That's because," she laughed through her tears. "That's because you're right. I've never wanted to say no. Not in the basement. Not when you kissed me. Not when you offered me a job. Not ever." She cupped his face. "You're dangerous and ruthless and probably the worst decision I've ever made. But you're also brilliant and loyal and you see me, really see me, in a way no one ever has. Is that a yes? Yes. She kissed him. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to the insanity. Yes to the danger. Yes to forever. He slipped the ring on her finger. Perfect fit. Like it was always meant to be there. When they broke apart, both laughing and crying, Jong-jae pulled her close. You're mine now. I was always yours. She rested her forehead against his. From the moment you asked me not to call anyone. I just didn't know it yet. And now? Now I know. She kissed him again. And I'm never letting go. The wedding, 4 months later. They married at a private estate in upstate New York. Small ceremony. Close friends only, the ones who wouldn't ask questions about the groom's business or the bride's past. Zuri wore a dress that combined traditional Korean hanbok elements with African Ankara print. The fusion of their worlds. The blending of their stories. Jong-jae wore a black suit, tailored perfectly, looking every inch the dangerous man he was. But his eyes when he saw her walking down the aisle? Soft. Vulnerable. Completely in love. You're stunning, he whispered when she reached him. You're not so bad yourself. She took his hands. They were shaking slightly. Nervous? Terrified. His smile was honest. I've faced guns and knives and death. But standing here, promising you forever? That's the scariest thing I've ever done. Why? Because I actually have something to lose now. He squeezed her hands. Before you, I was surviving. Now I'm living. And the thought of losing this, losing you, that terrifies me more than anything. Then it's good we're making this permanent. She smiled. Because I'm not going anywhere, Kang Jong-jae. You're stuck with me. Promise? I promise. Their vows were simple. Honest. Real. I, Kang Jong-jae, take you, Zuri Washington, to be my wife, my partner, my equal. I promise to ask before I decide. To see you as a person, not a possession. To respect your choices even when they scare me. To love you not despite your strength, but because of it. His voice dropped lower. You saved my life in that basement. But you saved my soul every day after. I promise to spend the rest of my life being worthy of that gift. Zuri's voice shook as she spoke hers. I, Zuri Washington, take you, Kang Jong-jae, to be my husband, my partner, my home. I promise to choose you every day. To stand beside you, not behind you. To challenge you when you're wrong and support you when you're right. She squeezed his hands. You were the last thing I expected when I found you bleeding in that basement. But you became everything I needed. I promise to spend the rest of my life proving that saving you was the best decision I ever made. When they kissed, it was soft. Sweet. Forever. As they walked back down the aisle, married, Jong-jae leaned close. Ready for forever? With you? Always. 1 year later. Zuri stood in the newly opened Washington Center for Social Services in Atlanta. Her dream. Her building. Her practice. They'd renovated a historic building in the old Fourth Ward. Created a space that offered counseling, job training, housing assistance, and support services for women escaping abuse. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd escaped abuse by stumbling into the arms of a criminal. Now she was helping other women escape without needing that kind of desperation. It's perfect, Jong-jae said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. His hands settled on her stomach, 6 months pregnant, showing beautifully. It's a start. She leaned back against him. We're going to help so many people. We already are. He kissed her temple. 50 women in the first month. That's 50 lives changed. 53, actually. She smiled. 3 more came in this morning. My wife, the overachiever. His hand rubbed gentle circles on her belly. How's our daughter? Active. She kicked me through an entire board meeting yesterday. That's my girl. He turned Zuri to face him. Are you happy? Are you really asking me that? She gestured to the center, to the work she loved, to the life they'd built. I'm married to the love of my life. I'm doing work that matters. I'm having a baby. Jongjae, I'm more than happy. I'm fulfilled. Good. He kissed her. Because you deserve everything, Zuri. Every good thing this world has to offer. Even when I found you bleeding in a basement. Especially because you found me bleeding in my basement. His smile was tender. You saved my life. I'm just returning the favor by making sure the rest of your life is everything you dreamed it could be. She kissed him deeply. Gratefully. Forever. I love you, she whispered. I love you more. Not possible. We'll argue about it later. He pulled her close, careful of her belly. Right now, we have a ribbon-cutting ceremony to finish. Then we need to fly back to New York for the quarterly review. Then we go home. She cut him off. And we rest. Because your daughter is making me exhausted. My daughter? She's definitely yours. Already stubborn and demanding attention. His laugh was pure joy. Just like her mother. They cut the ribbon together. Cameras flashed. Community leaders applauded. The center opened to the public. And Zuri looked at Jongjae, this dangerous, beautiful man who'd stumbled into her Zuri bleeding and desperate, and felt nothing but gratitude. The birth, 3 months later. Jongjae paced the hospital waiting room like a caged tiger. His suit was rumpled. His hair a mess from running his hands through it. His face showed every minute of the 16-hour labor. Mr. Kong. The doctor appeared, smiling. You have a healthy baby girl. Both mother and baby are doing beautifully. Jongjae didn't wait for more information. He pushed past into the recovery room. Zuri looked exhausted. Radiant. Holding a tiny bundle wrapped in pink. Meet your daughter, she said softly. Jongjae approached like the baby might break. She's so small. She's perfect. Zuri shifted, letting him see their daughter's face. Beautiful brown skin. Dark eyes just opening. Tiny fingers already grasping at air. What's her name? Jongjae asked, his voice rough. They'd debated for months. Korean names. American names. Combinations. Nothing felt right. Until now. Grace, Zuri said. Grace Jongjae Kong. Because she's our Grace. The gift we never expected but always needed. Jongjae's eyes filled with tears. Grace. He held his daughter for the first time. This tiny, perfect human they'd created. His hands that had held guns, delivered violence, survived so much darkness, cradled her with infinite gentleness. Hello, Grace, he whispered. I'm your dad. And I promise you'll never know fear like your mother did. You'll never question your worth. You'll never be anything less than cherished, protected, and loved. Grace's tiny hand wrapped around his finger. Holding on. Trusting completely. She's got your grip, Zuri teased, tears streaming down her face. She's got your beauty. Jongjae looked at his wife. Thank you. For what? For everything. For that night in the basement. For choosing me. For this. He looked at their daughter. For giving me a life worth living. Zuri reached for him. Thank you for bleeding in my basement. He laughed. That's the strangest thank you I've ever received. But true. She pulled him close, the three of them together. You stumbled into my life at exactly the right moment. Bleeding and desperate and completely wrong for me. And look at us now. Look at us now, she echoed. 5 years later. Grace Kong, age 4, sat in her mother's office at the Washington Center, coloring aggressively while Zuri finished paperwork. Mama, Grace said without looking up, why do all these ladies come here? Zuri set down her pen. Because they need help, baby. They're going through hard times, and we help them get better. Like when Daddy was bleeding. Zuri's breath caught. They'd never told Grace that story. What do you mean? Daddy says you saved him when he was hurt. That you helped him get better. Grace looked up with Zhang intense eyes. So you help people. That's your job. Yes, baby. That's my job. Will you teach me? When I'm bigger? Zuri's throat tightened. Teach you what? How to help people. Like you help Daddy. Like you help the ladies here. Grace went back to coloring. I want to save people too. When Zhang picked them up that evening, Zuri told him what Grace had said. She's your daughter, he said, buckling Grace into her car seat. Of course she wants to save people. She's our daughter. Zuri corrected. Which means she'll be stubborn, brilliant, and absolutely terrifying when she grows up. I'm already scared of her. Zhang closed the car door, turning to Zuri. She asked me last week why Uncle Tae calls me boss. What did you tell her? That I run a company. Which is technically true. Very technical. Zuri leaned against him. When do we tell her the truth? When she's old enough to understand nuance. That good people sometimes do bad things for good reasons. That the world isn't black and white. He kissed her forehead. But not yet. Let her stay innocent a little longer. Agreed. They drove home, a brownstone in Brooklyn they'd bought 2 years ago. Big enough for a family. Close enough to both their worlds. That night, after Grace was asleep, Zuri and Zhang sat on their rooftop deck, watching the city lights. Do you regret it? Zhang asked quietly. The basement? Everything that came after? Zuri turned to him. Do you really have to ask me that? Sometimes I wonder if you'd be happier. Safer. If you'd called the police that night instead of saving me. Zhang. She took his hand. I'd be dead inside. Working 3 jobs, barely surviving, completely alone. You didn't just give me safety or money or security. You gave me purpose. Love. Family. Everything that makes life worth living. Even with the danger. Even with the danger. She squeezed his hand. Because being safe and empty is worse than being dangerous and alive. You taught me that. You taught me that loving someone doesn't make you weak. His voice was rough. It makes you stronger. Gives you something worth protecting. Worth fighting for. Worth bleeding in a basement for. He laughed. Definitely worth bleeding in a basement for. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their city, their life, their everything spread out before them. Zuri, Zhang said after a while. Yes? Thank you for not calling the police that night. She smiled. Thank you for bleeding in my basement. That's still the strangest thank you ever. But the truest. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Because that night changed everything. You changed everything. We changed everything, he corrected. Together. Together, she agreed. Epilogue, 10 years later. The Washington Center had expanded to 6 locations across 3 states. Zuri's nonprofit helped thousands of women annually. She'd become a leading voice in domestic violence prevention, testified before Congress, and built something that would outlast her lifetime. Zhang Jie had transitioned his organization into legitimate businesses, real estate, import, export, private security. Still operating in gray areas, but nothing that would put his family at risk. Nothing that would make his daughter ashamed. Grace was 13 now. Brilliant, stubborn, and asking too many questions about her father's consulting business. She knows, Zuri said one night. Not everything. But enough. I know. Zhang Jie sighed. She's too smart. Gets that from you. And too stubborn. Gets that from you. They were at their brownstone, rare night alone while Grace was at a sleepover. Are you worried? Zuri asked. About what she'll think when she learns the whole truth. Terrified. Zhang Jie pulled her close. But I'm also hopeful. Because she's seen what we built from those ashes. She knows we help people. Protect people. Maybe she'll understand that morality isn't always simple. Or maybe she'll rebel and become a lawyer. Zuri smiled. Dedicate her life to prosecuting people like you. That would be ironic. That would be perfect. Zuri kissed him. Either way, she'll be extraordinary. Because she's ours. Because she's yours, Zhang Jie corrected. I just provided the DNA. You provided everything else. We provided everything together. She settled against him. Like we've done everything. Together. They sat on their couch, the same couch from that first tiny apartment in Manhattan, moved to every home since because neither could let it go, and thought about that night. The basement. The blood. The desperate choice that changed everything. Do you remember what you said? Zhang Jie asked. When I asked why you were helping me? I said you were bleeding on my floor. You said you weren't good at letting people suffer. He turned to look at her. That's still true. You've spent 15 years making sure people don't suffer. Building places where they can heal. Creating something beautiful from our broken beginning. Our beginning wasn't broken. Zuri met his eyes. It was exactly what it needed to be. Desperate. Impossible. Real. Real, he agreed. Zhang Jie? Yes? If you could go back, if you could change that night, avoid getting shot, never stumble into my basement, would you? He didn't hesitate. Never. Not 1 second. Because that night gave me you. Gave me grace. Gave me this life. I'd bleed in 1,000 basements if it meant finding you every time. Zuri's eyes filled with tears. Good answer. True answer. He kissed her. Slow. Deep. Forever. You're my salvation, Zuri. My redemption. My everything. And it all started because you chose to help instead of run. Chose mercy over safety. Chose me when you had every reason not to. And I'd do it again. She kissed him back. Every single time. Because you're my everything too. My home. My partner. My impossible, beautiful love story that started in a basement with blood and desperation and became this. She gestured to their life. Their home. Their family. Their forever. Not bad for a woman who found a bleeding stranger in her basement. Not bad for a man dying alone who got saved by an angel. I'm not an angel. You're my angel. He pulled her close. And I'm spending the rest of my life being grateful you didn't call the police that night. Me too. She settled against him. Me too.